Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I'm David Rodriguez.
And I'm Hillary Rodriguez.
And today we're going to be giving you an early review of Tabriz. So, no special guest this week for this one because, there are some cultural sensitivities that I feel almost any of my guests would mess up because they're universally terrible. No special guest for this one. It's just going to be us. You'll have to deal with that. This game is coming to, or might be on, GameFound right now, depending on when you are watching. It's designed by Flynn and published by Crafty Games. So it plays 1 to 5 players, which is a nice, good, broad number of players, and we had a chance to try this out. We were very lucky. We went to the Gamerati headquarters and got to actually play this with Randy Flynn, as well as with the Phantom Meeple and a representative from Crafty Games. So, really awesome to get to try this game this early with the full player count. Really, I mean, it was an honor.
It was a really great experience.
Yeah. So, but we're going to let you know that up front, just so, if you're worried it's going to color our view of the game, I don't think it did. But we're going to talk about what we think about it anyway. So, I know people are probably mostly curious about how this game plays, so let's do our gameplay overview. Okay, so in Tabriz, you're going to take on the role of a merchant trying to create and sell carpets in the Persian marketplace. Now, the different players don't have different powers, although you may start with a different combination of resources and money, depending on what player number you are. And everybody's going to have 3 assistants that start in the middle of the board. They call this a worker movement game as opposed to a worker placement game. And the reason why is because on each of your turns, you're going to get to move one of your assistants up to 3 spaces away, or at least that's how it starts. The marketplace has certain paths you can take, so you can only go so far each round. Eventually, you'll be able to move more probably, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So you can move to a place that someone else has already moved to. That's fine, but you can't move to a place that you have already been to and take the action there. You can only take each action one time, with the exception of the middle space, I believe you can.
Yeah, the market.
Yeah. So each of those spaces, she'll go into more detail about them, but they're going to be some of the resources that you're trying to get. So there is wool, plant dye, camel hair, carmine, and silk. And I believe, going in that order, they become more expensive as they go because they're more rare and more in demand by the higher ups. And so you can go to these various places and you can purchase or trade for those items. But why are you doing this? It's because you've gotten contracts to fill to make certain carpets. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're a little bit limited in the contracts you can fill because there's basically 3 stacks of contracts. There's the commoner ones, the merchant ones, and is it the nobles?
Yeah.
The nobles, okay. So, and you basically have to go through the game and unlock the ability to get some of those higher end contracts. But the lower end the easier they are to complete, but also the rewards are less as well. And when you complete a contract, you will usually get money. You may also get prestige, which act as victory points. It's getting your name out there and getting you more famous as a carpet maker. And you can also get skill points, which you have a skill track that you're trying to fill up, and that's where you kind of unlock the ability to get those higher end contracts. It also lets your assistants move further. There's a few other bonuses that it gives you that we'll probably touch on as we go here. Once you've completed a contract, you're going to slide that sort of underneath your player mat, although you will keep the bottom sticking out because it'll have something, oftentimes anyway, at the bottom that you will get at the end of each round. So it could be income or the ability to trade something even though you're not in a normal trade spot. There's a lot of different possibilities, but it gives you something to kind of advance your character as it were.
Yeah, and even if you don't want, even if it doesn't have a bonus at the end of each round, you still want to put that underneath your mat because one of the 2 endgame triggers is getting 9 of those contracts completed. The other endgame trigger is getting through all 14 skill levels.
Yep, absolutely. So you're basically gonna take your turns until everyone's assistants are all essentially used, because when you get to a spot, you lay them down to show that they have done the action there and that they've been used. Once all the assistants have done their actions, you're going to stand them back up so you know that they're available again. You are going to replenish all the markets because each marketplace will have a certain number of each resource that you will fill back up into the limited spaces that they have there. And you will then do any of your income things that are at the bottom of your contract cards.
And with the marketplace, if you are filling it up and you need to place a token of a good, but you can't, then the whole market goes away. It basically acts as if, like, this is an item that's not selling well, so we're just gonna get rid of all the inventory. And so then for the next round, that marketplace won't have any inventory for you to be able to go to and buy.
Yeah.
The other types of, so there's a few different types of marketplaces. There's some markets that just deal with the goods, and so you'll go there and you'll pay to get a certain amount of goods. So most of the time, the more goods you get, the little bit better rate you'll get, but not always. And you want to be careful too, because if you push it too long, then it'll overflow and then there's nothing to buy. You can also just buy one good if you only need one good, or you can only afford one good. There's some places that you can trade goods. So if someone goes and buys all the silk, but you really needed silk, and you have extra of one of the other resources, there's different areas in the market that you can go to and trade so that you can still get your silk. There's also alleyways, and those are kind of push your luck. So there'll be one that you'll get one resource for sure, and then you can roll and see if you get another resource, and you basically just pay for one resource that you roll for, and then anything else that's at that place you can get, and that's like the lost and found area. There's another one that's a little bit more push your luck, where you'll roll and you can keep rolling dice and you get to pick the dice. With the dice, there's 3 different types of dice. There's one that covers the 3 lowest grade materials. There's another one that covers the middle ground materials, and then final dice that cover the highest 3 level materials. At the one alley space, you'll roll the dice, and you can keep rolling dice as long as you can afford it. You have to buy everything that you roll, though. Mm-hmm. So, you can kind of mitigate your chances of busting because you get to pick which kind of dice you're rolling. But if you only have 9 coins and you end up rolling so that everything costs 10 coins, then you get nothing.
Yeah, it sucks.
There's also 2 special corner markets that are not accessible on the very first turn because they are 4 spaces away from the main marketplace square. And one of them will have 3 dice that you re-roll at the beginning of each round, and when you get to that space, you can re-roll one of the dice, but you do have to, and then you do buy all 3 items that are showing on the dice, but there's different price points, so you can get some really good deals at that marketplace. The other marketplace is where you can buy silk. Since silk is the highest quality item, you can trade to get silk, but there's only one place that you can actually just flat out buy the silk, and it's harder to get to. At a 3-player or higher account, there's 2 split marketplaces, and one of them deals with wool and camel hair. The other one deals with the 2 dyes that you can get. And when you go there, you can buy both items, or you can just buy one, and then they have similar overflow rules as the other marketplaces. And then the last one is the main marketplace square tile where everybody starts at. This is a special tile wherein you can stay. It's the only place that you can have your associate just stay and use that action. All the rest of the tiles, your associate has to move from that tile. And then what actions you get at that tile, it has to do with the contracts. So there's 2 actions that you can take. You can either take 4 action cards based off of the skill level you're at. So if you haven't unlocked any of the merchants or the nobles, you can only take 4 common contracts, but if you've unlocked all 3, then you can take any mix of 4 cards. And then you can look at all the cards and decide on which one contract you want to keep, and then disregard the other 3. As your skill goes up the track, there at some point you will unlock it so that you can keep 2 of those contracts. The other option you have is to take the top card without looking of one of the contract piles that you're able to access, and then you also get 4 coins back. So you don't get to really pick what contract you get, but it's a way for you to get more income so that you can purchase what you need to get.
Yep. I don't recall if you said, so stop me if you did, but also that center space, you can move to that no matter how far away you are. You basically can teleport to that middle section.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's very important. I just wanted to make sure you knew. Okay. So, once someone has met at least one of the end game triggers, you will then play out the rest of the round. Everyone can still move any assistance that they have, and then you will tally up your prestige points. I mean, there's a marker at the top of the board, so you can kind of see where everyone's at.
Yeah, and the person that triggers the end game trigger will get a bonus extra 2 prestige points.
Yeah, so kind of nice little bonus for making it end, so you don't try to draw it out maybe as much as you could. But yeah, you just tally it up, and that's how you find out who won.
Yep. So in an event of a tie, it'll go to the coins and then resources. Okay, so for the art and components, what we saw was an actual demo version of the game. So we know that for a fact that some of the pieces that we saw are going to be different when actual production happens versus what we saw. So we're kind of just going over brief opinions of this stuff and not going into full details. But like, I think the artwork is really well done. It's really nice, bright colors, but they also made it so that stuff isn't like lost. It's really easy to see like where you're supposed to go, what all the different markets do. It's a nice and colorful neoprene mat, which is going to be standard. The pieces on the board also have little special cutouts on the corners and are color coded, so when you're placing the marketplaces out, which are double-sided, so it can give some diversity there, but it's really easy to be able to set up the game fast.
Yeah, I really like that aspect especially. I think it's really smartly done, and I like that, the different sites have different things, so like you can kind of change up your game in little or big ways depending on how much you want to go with it. I will do one little nitpick, and again, got to keep in mind that this may be something that changes by the time that the game releases, is that when you're looking at the board and you see the various resources and the prices beneath it, they show the prices on the little like silver-ish coins, and I found that at a distance, and your eyesight's going to vary, it's a little hard to see the numbers on those coins to see what it is. I had to get kind of close to look and make sure that I knew exactly the cost. You kind of learn the costs over time, but especially at first, I was like, okay, wait, does this cost 4 or is that something, I had to kind of look.
Yeah, that's a little nitpick that I have of the board itself, because the board is very long, but it's not very wide.
Yeah.
And I was sitting at one corner of the board, and so I couldn't really see the, like, really fancy marketplace with the 3 dice very well, so I didn't actually go there and utilize that space very well because I couldn't really see what was going on over there. So I didn't feel like walking up and walking around the table to see what's going on. Yeah. So that is one little nitpick issue that I had with the board.
Yeah, I can see that. So you might be kind of careful with the seating and try to make sure everyone can see everything okay, or just get up and walk around. And again, we don't know how big an issue these things are going to be in the final release, but it's something that I noticed. I like the little meeples because each color is not just different color, but also a different shape. That's good in a couple reasons. It might help if there's I don't know that there'll be any colorblind issues with the colors, but that is one way to help. I mean, they're not extremely different, but there's enough that, you could kind of tell the pieces apart, which is great. And the shape of them also match a little like a silhouette they have of it on each player mat. So if you're unsure, you can just look and be like, oh yeah, that's mine. So really easy as far as that goes. I like that a lot. The pieces we played with were, was it 3D printed?
Yeah, 3D printed.
And I guess they're planning to make it wood for the final release, so that'll be a little different. But, that's great. I didn't mind the pieces as they were, but I think the wood will be a nice upgrade to what we saw anyway. So
I think the coins that we saw are going to be what is going to be what they're using. It was a nice thick cardstock, cardboard. The 2 prestige token that the trigger endgame player gets is actually going to be die cut, so it will look really nice and fancy and place nicely on your player mat.
Yeah, and the first player token that we had was just cardboard cutout. They were talking about maybe upgrading that to something else, but I don't know if that's actually going to be what happens. Either way, it looked fine, and it's fine even as just a nice cardboard piece. So regardless of how they go, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the theme, now I don't know really a lot about Persian markets, to be honest with you, other than, who knows what kind of cliched things I've seen in my life and how accurate any of those were. But this is really neat. Like, I really felt like I was like out there trying to get my people, like, I need these supplies, go out there and get them. And I was having them run out and do it. And, they're running out trying to shop and get stuff before it gets sold out and, get them at the good prices and get the best deals. All that. Well, I'm trying to, get better knowns. I'm trying to fulfill all these contracts. I really liked it. It really felt very thematic for me. And when I first kind of looked at this game, like on BGG, I was like, okay, well, it's going to be kind of a Euro game probably, and it's not going to necessarily be dripping in theme. But like, I really felt like it was. I really felt like I was doing this stuff, and I was very pleasantly surprised at that because I truly did not expect it at all. Did it immerse you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it really you can really feel the theme in this game, and even down to the skill token marker. It's a loom comb, so it's the comb that they use when they're making the rugs to push down all the different weaving that they've done to make everything nice and tight. And so I think they put a lot of thought into the details and the gameplay to incorporate the theme into all this. And I think something that's kind of important to note for a theme, because, I know there's people that sometimes will have issues with someone that's not of an ethnicity doing a game based off of a different ethnicity. And Randy actually grew up in Iran when he was like around the age of 10.
Yeah, he spent a couple years there, right?
Yeah, so he actually even though he's not of that ethnicity, he does have some experience with it. It's not just something that he happens to like, or he's just utilizing that theme.
Yeah, he was nice enough to share that his whole story with us, and that he said that was actually really the favorite place that he lived as a kid. So he has a lot of affection for that area, and I am pretty sure if anyone not from there is going to do it right, I think he would definitely go out of his way to do so. And yeah, I just love it. One of the things that I really like in this game is some of the the alleys and whatnot where you can go. You can get good stuff there and get good deals, but there's a bit of chance involved, and I really like that. I like the idea that okay, my sisters are like, oh, they're sold out at the store, but the guy in the alley's got some stuff. Oh, it's a little risky. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could totally see this as going in there and be like, oh God, I hope this works out.
And trading, it's oh man, my boss really wants the camel hair, but I only got all this dye, so let me go see if I can trade with this other person.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen any of our crowdfunding reviews yet, we do them a little bit differently than our typical review. At the end, instead of giving our number value review, we're going to just say whether or not we would back the upcoming crowdfunding. And part of that is because, things can change from the time that we saw the game versus what actually comes out on the crowdfunding, or even during the crowdfunding. Occasionally something will change. So we don't want to lock in our numbers and say that based off of stuff that may or may not change.
Right.
So that being said, I really enjoyed this game. I'm always a little nervous when we get sent a game, and so to play a game with the designer and the company that's producing the game was a little nerve-wracking to me, because I'm like, I really hope I like this game, because if I don't, it feels really awkward. But I really enjoyed this game a lot. So, and it was a really fun time. It was, I was a little nervous going into it because we haven't done that kind of thing before, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But it was a really fun time, and the game is a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. One thing, well, on a personal note, I've noticed about myself, I often have trouble being taught a game across the table. Like, if we just go to play a game that I've never played before and someone's teaching me across the table, I feel like sometimes it takes a bit to, like, I just don't get it that way. I just, like, not quite how I usually learn very well. And I don't know if it was the way Randy taught his game or if it was the game itself, but this one was very easy to catch on to. You know, it's not ultra complicated, but it's got enough complexity to have, like, some good, you know, bite to it, which is great. But I felt like it was really easy to take in. Like, I don't think this is, like, an entry-level game, I wouldn't say. But, you know, it has a lot to it. It's more complicated than his other game, Cascadia, by a good deal, I would say. But I would still put it kind of in that medium category. And it's one of those games where I think once you get past the initial, like, teach and you start moving in it, it clicks in real fast. Like, it starts making sense very quickly. At least it did for me anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it's a really easy game to learn. You know, one of the things that I really like about this game is that even though it's a competitive game, you don't really know what everybody's goal is. So, and then you're just running around trying to buy what's best for you. So there's not really a lot of take that. Like, there might be something where you're trying to get the wool and someone comes in and buys the wool before you can get your chance to do that. But you can still go to one of the traders and trade in some of your other goods to get the wool that you need. So, you know, even though someone might mess up your plans, it's not like, people aren't like going like, oh, you really need this item, so I'm going to go steal it before you get a chance. So I appreciate that out of the game, and I appreciate that there's a way to work around it too. So it might mess up your plans, and it takes you a second to reorganize your plans. But, you know, I think along those same lines, there's not a whole lot of analysis paralysis with this game, because you can really only move so many spaces away. You might have to think about, like, what order you're going to move your assistants in. But, you know, for the most part, by the time it gets to your turn, you kind of already know what you're trying to do and where you're going. So it's really just a matter of, you know, the only time that you might have to take a little bit longer to think about your turn is if the person right in front of you takes what you're planning on doing. But even then, I think it's pretty quick to change your game plan and move forward.
I agree, and that's great, because people will take what you're trying to take often, at least in a 5-player game. I don't know. You know, I really actually want to try. I want to try it at 2, but, like, that takes away a couple of those markets. I want to try it at 3, because that's where the board stays the same, but you have fewer players. I'm curious how tight it is, because there is a lot of running around and hoping you get the thing first, or hoping the other person doesn't take everything so you can get whatever it is you need.
Yeah, there was one time where I had just taken my turn, and, like, the person from Crafty Games was right next to me, and, like, he just took his turn, and, like, I was looking at the board, and I'm like, oh, I need to go to this market and get this, because there's a whole bunch of that item that I need. And, like, he was pointing out to everybody that, like, oh yeah, like, if you go to this market, you're gonna get a really good deal. And I'm like, shh, don't tell the people, because that's what I want to do. So I was really holding my breath, waiting for someone to go up to that market and take everything. Yeah. Luckily, nobody did. But but I was like, no, don't say anything. It happens.
And that was, like, especially crazy example of that. But I feel like almost every turn, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go here, and then someone would go there first. I'm like, damn. Now I got to figure out another way to do this.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I like that. It's fun. It keeps you on your toes and keeps you, like, changing directions, and it keeps it interesting. This game, it kind of reminds me of, like, Century Spice Road mixed with, like, a worker placement game. Because, you know, if you've played Century, you're essentially just directly doing trading, and you're trying to get your certain, I mean, in that case it's spices, but, you know, your cubes, your resources, whatever, to pay off the certain things so you can get points. And I mean, in a sense, you're doing that in this game too. But it, like, where so much of what you would technically be doing in Century is abstracted, this one, like, zooms it in. And so now you actually are, you know, you're moving from place to place and actually getting to the markets and doing the actual trading. And, you know, no knock against Century, which is a great game on its own, but this is so much more interesting and engaging than that game is by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I would say if you like Centuries, any of the Sensory Spice Roads games, you'll really like this game a lot.
Yeah, it just takes it up to another level. And, I don't want to say it's like exactly the same kind of game, because there's several games that do that, but, like, this has so much more to it, that is just, like, an aspect of it that I'm like, okay, it has this thing that is like Century, but there's also so many other things that you're trying to accomplish that oh my gosh, it's like it incorporated that entire game into, like, a much bigger, much, like, more, I don't know, filling, I want to say, experience. Like, it really...
You feel like you're accomplishing more.
Yeah, exactly. So, I really did dig it a lot. So, I don't know, should we talk about our ideas about backing this game? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So I would definitely back this game. I had a lot of fun with this game. I'm really excited to play it at 2 players, and I think this is a game that, I know we've talked about this before. Like, a lot of our friends that we when we get a chance to play games, a lot of the friends that we play with don't like to do competitive games. But I think this is a competitive game that we could get them to play, because there's not the backstabbing aspect. So there might still be some fighting, so we'll have to see. But I do think this is a competitive game that we can slip into those non-competitive players and still have a fun time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had played Cascadia only really a little bit before going to this. I'm not one of the people who got it at the beginning. I wanted to back it, and then I just couldn't for whatever reason. But anyway, point is, I played Cascadia. Now, you can't compare these two based on the type of game it is. That they are not similar. But I think Cascadia is fantastic and well-deserving of all the awards it's gotten. But that being said, I like Tabriz even better. It is so good.
Yeah.
Like, it really is.
And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting, because, like, we actually asked him, like, you just got, Cascadia just got this really big award in gaming, and so, like, do you feel nervous about having this game coming out, like, right after that, and, do you feel extra pressure on this game? And what's interesting is that, like, he actually designed this game before he designed Cascadia. So for him, he doesn't have the pressure, because he was like, well, I already designed this game. Cascadia came out out of his brain. Cascadia came out second. So for him, he's like, it was already in the works, so it is what it is. Yeah. People will like it or not. And I think a lot of people will like this game.
I really, really strongly do, too. This is definitely one that I want to back for certain. I don't know the price on it. It's not going to have, like, 1,000 miniatures or something, so I don't think it'll be insane. But whatever it is, I think it's definitely one I want to have in my collection, because I just had a blast. I just had a blast playing with these people that I hadn't even met, and it was so much fun. I really think that Randy Flynn has another winner on his hands, and I think people are easily going to be talking about this in the same, breath as far as, like, quality games as they do Cascadia. I think, dang, Randy, you're doing great, man.
I'm excited for whatever games he makes in the future.
I know, like, I know he's got plans, so I'm not going to talk about anything he mentioned, because I don't know if I should, but, like, I'm starting to think, like, man, this guy, he's
zeroed in on games.
He's got something figured out for sure. So I'm really excited about it. Definitely want to back it. Yeah. If it all sounds... Oh, yeah, go for it.
One more thing to mention with this game. We didn't get a chance to actually try it out ourselves, so we don't know exactly how it works. But with the solo mode, the player boards have a reverse side, which has an AI side to it, and each player board is going to work a little bit differently. So there's going to be some variables in the solo mode as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love it when there's good variety from one game to the next, because, some solo modes I enjoy, but like, they have got a limited number of plays in them to me, and I think having that variety is going to change it up a lot. So with all that being said, if this sounds at all like a game you'd be interested in, I highly recommend it. I think it is fantastic. Absolutely love my play on it. I'm almost bummed that I'm not going to have a copy of this for, like, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be a while, and I want it right now. And I don't get to have it right now, but But you know, good things come to those who wait. And this is going to be a very good thing, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright. So, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, I look forward to see you all around the table again at All Games New and Old.
Bye.
Bye. Boop, 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 boop. Is my brain like Swiss cheese? Did I take a bad like head blow and like I don't even remember it? And I mean, I probably have whacked my head a couple times. If you enjoyed that video, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
If you like any of our videos, what you should do is click this little button to subscribe so you'll know about the next time we put out a video.
We'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.